This Iranian national wrestling team strength and conditioning session is horrible. This clip is taken from a so-called functional training session, and quite frankly, it is fucking gross. This is the perfect example of a team succeeding in spite of their training rather than because. Here's 3 reasons why. Firstly, all training is functional. You select training methods, exercises, and loading parameters because you think it's going to have a given effect, i.e. it's going to serve a particular function. If it didn't, you wouldn't do it, or you'd be dumb for doing it anyway. Secondly, the entire point that we do dedicated strength and conditioning work is because just doing stuff that looks like the sport isn't optimal for developing physical qualities. Exercises tend to exist on a spectrum from adaptation to specificity. The most specific stuff is trash for adaptation, and the stuff which lends itself to adaptation tends to be trash for specificity. So if you want to develop important physical qualities like speed, strength, power, and local muscular endurance, you're going to be best served by picking the stuff that doesn't look like the sport and then loading the hell out of it. What do we think is going to develop power endurance more? Weighted clap push-ups for high reps or this? What about developing isometric strength and endurance in the hamstrings? Pause deficit RDLs or this? The answer should be self-evident. A much better approach is to train the extremes of the spectrum. General, highly loadable exercises for adaptation paired with highly specific live wrestling skill, drill, and sparring variations to put that into a sporting context. This middle ground is actually the worst of both worlds. None of the overload and none of the sensory information or decision-making that comes from a live opponent giving you real looks. Thirdly, one good thing plus another good thing does not necessarily equal a great thing. I love eating ice cream, I love eating steak. I'm not going to serve them together because it's going to taste like shit. The more exercises and patterns that we try to throw together into one single exercise, the less productive the whole becomes because attention is divided, coordination starts to enter into the picture, and things like balance demands reduce the outputs that we're capable of, reducing fatigue and eventual adaptation. Is upper back strength and isometric endurance important for wrestling? You bet. What about upper body pulling isometric strength? Absolutely. What about upper body pulling endurance? Hell yeah. Well, what about if we combine them into one super functional, highly wrestling specific exercise? Fuck no. Look at the speed this infinity rope is moving at. Would it be moving faster and creating more fatigue and overload and eventual adaptation if the guy was able to attack it with both hands while standing on 2 legs and giving it his full focus? What about if he swapped this dumbbell hold for an overcoming isometric pulling with max intent against a rack? The performance gain that you'd get from performing these exercises individually is going to be much greater than you'd ever get from what they're doing here, where they're all combined into one exercise. On this occasion, the sum of the parts is actually much greater than that of the whole. Go by my template, link in bio, good day.